Let's take a deep breath together as we move into this part of our service. We've been talking about the compassion connection this month. And of course, today is Easter Sunday, and this is a day of resurrection. This is a day of resurrection, the day of renewal, the day of restoration. So a time of beginning again, beginning anew. And so the resurrection means overcoming the death, overcoming a belief in death. And moving from the darkness of the tomb into the light of the awareness of the power and the presence of God, into the awareness of union and unity with God. When the human gave way to the divine, and when the man gave way to God and the flesh gave way to spirit, then that's when the man Jesus moved into and gave way to that Christ consciousness and became the Christ. And so as the human, all of us humans give way to the divine, then all of us become the Christ. All of us have the opportunity and the possibility of becoming the Christ, because resurrection is available to each of us. And Resurrection Day is every day. Resurrection Day is every day. There's an opportunity to be resurrected, to be renewed, to be reborn, really, every day, every day, every day. It depends on us. It depends on whether we are willing to let go of our sense of separation and move into that place of oneness with God, move into that place of knowing who we are, and our relationship to the all that is. But just as there is an opportunity for resurrection every day, there's an opportunity for crucifixion every day. There's an opportunity for crucifixion every day, because there can be no resurrection without the crucifixion. And so it's up to us whether we're going to be dealing with crucifixion every day or whether we're going to be dealing with resurrection every day. And if we're going to be dealing with crucifixion, are we willing to move into that place of resurrection? Are we willing to let go of those things that would hold us back and that keeps us in that place of the cross, that keeps us on the cross, rather than being able to move forward and to walk forward in our Christ self, in our Christ consciousness, in our awareness of our Christ consciousness. And so, as I said, it's all up to us. And so my topic today is, and this too shall pass, and this too shall pass, and this too shall pass. That phrase comes up frequently in our lives as we go through different challenges that we have, as we go through different situations and circumstances and events in our lives. We have that sometimes just hope that this will pass. Sometimes we just hope, and sometimes the hope gets pretty thin because situations can be going on for a long period of time, and we get into that "will this ever pass" syndrome. Will this ever be over? Will I ever be done with this? Because sometimes we get caught up in that loop of doing the same thing over and over again, or experiencing the same thing over and over again. And we get into that dim view of feeling that this will never change. Nothing will ever change. This will always be with me. Whether it's an illness, whether it's a relationship issue, whether it's a belief in lack, or fear or anxiety, or whatever the case may be. Those are the things that we hold on to that sometimes make us get into that "will this ever pass," rather than the knowing that this too shall pass, rather than the knowing that "and this too shall pass." And so that's what we want to just really begin to look at. What are we holding on to that keeps us on that cross? What are we holding on to? Because on the cross is where the suffering happens. That's where so long as we're in that place, then we are in a place of repeating the same things over and over. We're in that place of not letting go. We're in that place of a belief in separation. We're in that place of darkness. That's when we're not on the cross any longer, but in the tomb of darkness. And what we want to do is to be able to walk out of that tomb of darkness into the light of the resurrection. And that is what we are able to do when we are in that place of knowing that "and this too shall pass, and this too shall pass." And so I'm inviting you today to just look at what situations and what circumstances and what events are going on in your life that you've been just holding on to? What events that you just don't believe that you can get beyond them? Or you just don't believe that they're going to ever end? Or you just believe that it's just been too long, it's been going on too long, you've gotten too old, or you're not old enough, or whatever the situation may be, whatever excuses we use not to move on, whatever excuses we use that keep us feeling separate, that keep us believing in our separation from the all that is, then whatever that is, take a look at that. Take a look at those things that really keep us feeling like this is going to last forever. This is not going to change, because it is going to change. That is the possibility of the day of resurrection, and we have to be willing. We have to be willing to let it go. We have to be willing to move beyond it. We have to be willing to know that there's a power greater than we are, that there's a power in whose image and likeness we are made. And that power and that presence is always with us, is always guiding us, is there's always showing us the way. It is always right where we are. And when we are in that place of knowing, then we're in that place of unity, and we're in that place of the resurrection, because we are now moving into the light. We're now ready to move into the light, to be willing to really have a new day, a new way. We're willing to, as Ernest Holmes says, being willing to not let our yesterdays dim our tomorrows, by bringing our challenges from yesterday into our tomorrows, and allowing them to influence how we live our lives, and how we live our lives separate from God. And so I'm inviting you today to really look at, are you ready to be resurrected? Are you ready to walk in a new day, to walk in a new way, to walk in a new life, to have a new life, to live a new life, to live a new way from that Christ consciousness, from that Christ consciousness that's available to each and every one of us. And so as we move through this time, really look at that, because as I said, resurrection is available to us each and every moment of each and every day. It's just that simple. But we can't be resurrected unless we're willing to be, unless we want to be. We have to want to be. We have to want to have a different life. We have to want to have a different path. We have to want to have a different way. We have to want to do something different. We have to want to be different. We have to want to be available to express life as we were created to express it. We have to be willing to be available so that the allness and the fullness of God can have full sway in our lives. And so that we can have the good life. As Ernest Holmes says, life is good and God is good. There's no power in the universe that wishes us ill. There's no power in the universe that wants us to have less, that wants us to be poor, that wants us to be hungry, that wants us to be sick, that wants us to be lonely, that wants us to be fearful. There's no power in the universe that punishes us. We're punished by our own thoughts. We're punished by our own actions. We're punished by the causes that we set in effect. We're punished by our own mistakes. And we have an opportunity in each and every moment of each and every day to change that. We have an opportunity of each and every moment of each and every day to do something different. We have an opportunity in each and every moment of each and every day to think differently, to think a new thought, to speak a new word, to change our course, the course that we're on, whatever that course may be. And so when we're in that place of darkness, we're in that place, and those places of darkness, as I said, are places of fear and anxiety and judgment and blame and shame and all that stuff that holds us back, all that stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, that we deal with all the time, no matter what we may call it, that it boils down to those things that I just mentioned, any kind of thing that limits us and that makes us feel separate from God. When we're in those places, we are still in that place of the crucifixion. And the only way that we can move into the place of the resurrection is to be in the place where we know, from the consciousness of, and this too shall pass, that whatever is going on, when we approach it from, and this too shall pass. That means that we are in that place of trusting God. We're in that place of knowing that God is. We're in that place of knowing that God is bigger than anything that's going on with us, that God is greater than anything that we may be experiencing. And that all we need to do is move into alignment with that, all that is. Move into alignment with that power and that presence and that divine intelligence that knows all, is all. When we move into alignment with it, when we move into alignment with it and become one with it, then all things are possible. This is where the resurrection is. This is when we rise up and we can walk forward into a new day in a new way. And our lives are renewed. And there's new opportunity. And there's new possibility. And there's a new life in which we move, because we are living and moving and having our being in pure spirit. We're living and moving and having our being in all that is. And so no matter what happened yesterday, no matter what happened earlier this morning, no matter what we may find ourselves experiencing right now or going through right now, and this too shall pass. And this too shall pass. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your mantra. And this too shall pass. Not a feel-good kind of mantra. Not something that what do you call it? Head fake. It's not a head fake. It's truth. And this too shall pass, because everything has an expiration date. Everything has an expiration date, even the good things that we experience, even the good experiences that we have, even the times that we're feeling really high, the times we're feeling really great, the times we're feeling really good, and everything is working together. Everything is working together. Everything is working just the way we want it to. That has an expiration date too. And this too shall pass works, it applies to everything in life, because everything in life is temporary. Everything in life on this plane is transient. Everything is temporary. And so what we have to know is, and believe in, and align ourselves with, is that which is eternal. Knowing that life is eternal. Life in God is eternal. Life in God is eternal. Life in God is eternal. And that's where we want to live our lives. That's how we want to live our lives, in God. And when we do that, that's when we move into that Christ consciousness. That's when we move into that place of the resurrection, when we can rise up from wherever it is we are, no matter how low we may feel, no matter how low we may have sunk, no matter how we may feel that we bottomed out in some situations, in some circumstances, in some areas of our lives. Doesn't matter. None of that matters, because every moment is a moment of resurrection. Every moment is a moment of possibility. Every moment is a moment that we can move forward. We can stand up. We can say, yes, this is a new day, and I'm ready to move into that place of this new day. I'm ready to be resurrected right here and right now, and I'm ready to rise up, because I know that whatever I've been experiencing shall pass. And then we have to be willing to walk forward in that. We have to be willing to walk forward in the resurrection. We have to be willing to do, because things, when the resurrection happens, then everything has changed. And we can't be afraid of the change. We have to be willing to then trust God and walk forward. Trust God and walk forward, know that we are never walking alone. Trust God and walk forward, knowing that we are always guided, we're always directed, we're always protected, we're always cared for, we're always loved, we're always lifted up. That there's a divine presence that is always with us, no matter what. And all we have to do is to just be in alignment with it, be willing to be still, be willing to do our spiritual practice, be willing to do meditation, our prayer, treatment, our whatever our spiritual practice may be willing to be in that place where we can hear that still small voice, and where we can know, as the music from the moment of reflection was telling us, we can know that a whisper is enough. We can know that a whisper is enough, because God is always whispering to us. God is always whispering in our souls, in our beingness, in our hearts. God is always right where we are. That whisper is always available to us. And that whisper may not come through as a sound. It may come through as something you see. It may come through another person. It may come through a breeze blowing. It may come through so many ways, so many ways. And so it's important for us to just know this day that we are willing to allow the human to give way to the divine, that humanness in us to give way to the divinity in us, because that divinity is within each one of us. And so being willing to allow the human to give way to the divine, to become one with the all that is, to become one with the creator, to become one with that which created us, to become one and then allow it to work in and through and as our very lives. This is what the resurrection is all about. This is what the resurrection is all about. This is what the newness of life is all about. This is what us being renewed and having the opportunity to live a new life and a new day in a new way. This is what this is all about. This is what Easter is all about. This is what Easter is all about. It's about living and about life and about a new life and about a new way and about a new day in unity with the all that is. This is what the Christ consciousness is all about. This is what Jesus knew. This is what Jesus knew when he went through the crucifixion, when he went through the physical death. And then he went through that, and then he arose from that physical death. He overcame that physical death to prove the eternality of life. And that's what we all do. When we die to our old circumstances, when we die to our old ways of being, when we die to our old ways of living, when we die to our old ways of thinking, when we die to our old ways of relating to each other, when we die to our old ways of relating to this world and living in this world and walking through this world, and when we die to our old ways of doing anything, then we have the possibility of being resurrected into the light, into a new way, into a new day, into a new life. And that's what it's all about. And so what we want to start with is remembering who we are, remembering our relationship to the all that is, practicing the presence of God over and over and over again, recognizing that we meet God, as Ernest Holmes says, everywhere. We meet God in the rosebud. We meet God in the flow of the stream. We meet God in the eyes of the stranger that we see. We meet God in the hugs that we receive from friends and family. We meet God everywhere we go. We meet God in the breeze that we feel. We meet God everywhere. There's not a spot where God is not. There's not a spot where God is not. How awesome is that? How awesome is it to know that truth? How awesome it is that when we know that there's not a spot where God is not, we can walk through this life confidently knowing that God is always right where we are. And when we do that, then all the little stuff that holds us back, all that little stuff that will keep us in darkness, all that little stuff that will keep us in fear, all that little stuff that will keep us in blame and judgment and shame and all that stuff that we get caught up in. When we know that God is right where we are, then we can just let all that stuff go. And when we let it all go, then we rise up. Then we rise up into this moment of resurrection. And we don't have to call it a day of resurrection. We call it a moment of resurrection, because we are being resurrected, as I said, moment by moment, by moment, by moment, by moment, and then by moment again. Because as long as we have breath in our bodies, we have the opportunity to die to the old and then rise up in the new. We have an opportunity to let go of our sense of separation, our belief in separation from God. We have an opportunity to let go in our belief in separation from each other. We have an opportunity to let go of our sense of separation from each other and to move into our awareness of the truth of our being, that we are all one. We are all a part of the one, and to treat each other that way. No matter who it is, not just family members, not just friends, not just people we care about, but everyone, to look upon everyone as God, to look upon everyone as God, to know that God is everywhere present in everyone, in every situation, in every circumstance. And when we can do that, then we are walking in that Christ consciousness. We're living in that Christ consciousness. We have really allowed the human in us, within us, to give way to that divinity, that divine within us. And when we do that, we are truly living a resurrected life. We are truly living a resurrected life. And that's what we want to do. We want to live a resurrected life. We are entitled to that. We're entitled to that because that's the life that we live when we live in God, when we live in oneness with God, when we let go and die to our sense of separation, and we move into the awareness and the truth that God is all there is, and God is my very life. And I cannot be separate from that no matter what, no matter what. And when we know this truth and we live this truth, then we are living the resurrected life. We're living the resurrected life. And when we do that, we start out with the consciousness of, and this too shall pass, because we know that no matter what comes up, and there will be challenges that come up, there will be, once we decide we're going to live this resurrected life, there will be opportunities to come up to say, oh, really? Is that what you want to do? Let's see how you lived through this. Let's see how you're going to handle that situation. And you know what? You just stay focused. We stay focused on what we want. We stay focused on our intention. We stay focused on what is real. We stay focused on what is real because there are a lot of distractions. There are a lot of distractions, but we don't allow ourselves to become distracted. We stay focused on the truth that we know. And and the experiences that we find ourselves engaged in, we want to know whether the qualities of God are in the midst of these experiences. Are these experiences filled with love? Are they filled with peace? Are they filled with harmony? Are they filled with balance? Are they filled with acceptance? Are they filled with forgiveness? Are they filled with compassion? Are they filled with all these qualities of the Spirit? If not, then what am I doing here? If not, then why am I doing this? If not, then why am I engaging here? And this too shall pass, but it will only pass if we're willing to let it pass. It will only pass when we're ready to let it go. And I invite you today, be willing. Make that commitment to let it go. Make that commitment to, as you move through this, and this too shall pass, consciousness, do so from conscious awareness of what you're saying. Not that you're just, and this too shall pass, I'm moving into denial now until this is over, but from a place of truth that I know that this will pass because I know that God is in the midst. And I know that in the midst of this apparent chaos, peace is. I know that in this apparent disharmony, love is. I know that that in this apparent illness, or whatever it is, wholeness is, and health is, perfect health is. I know that in this discord, harmony is. I know that in this chaos, order is. I know that in whatever is going on, in the midst of whatever is going on, God is. And that's all we ever need to know. That in the midst of whatever is going on, God is. In the midst of whatever is going on, God is. And I am one with God. I am one with God. Nothing can ever change that. Nothing can ever change that. I can't change that. Because I am made in the image and likeness and out of God itself. I can't change that. I can change the way I relate to it. I can change the way I deal with it. I can change the way I walk through this life, but I can't change that. Nothing can ever change that. And so what I want to do is change my mind and change my actions and change my thoughts and change the way that I move through the world so that I move through the world in oneness with God. And as I said before, this is the resurrected life. And this is how we live the resurrected life, knowing that and this too shall pass, whatever it is, and walking forward in God in everything we do, every place we go. I invite you to turn within in this moment as we just move into that place of prayer, we just move into that place of knowing, we just move into that place of God, we just move into that place of being at one, recognizing that one power, recognizing that one presence, recognizing that one life, recognizing that one mind, recognizing that one breath, knowing that this one that I choose to call God, or we can call it no name at all. It is the source of my being. It is that within which I live and I move and I have my being as it lives and moves and has its being in me. And so it's from this place of awareness that I speak the word for all of us this day, just knowing that we are all made in the image and likeness and out of pure spirit itself. It is that from which we can never be separate. No matter what, we can never be separate. And so we are rising up in our awareness this day of our oneness with the all that is. And as we do so, all things are made new. In each and every life, all things are made new. There's perfect health in the body temple. There's perfect health in the bodies of affairs. There's perfect health in our relationships, our personal relationships, our friendships, our world relationships, whatever the case may be, for God is in the midst. There's perfect peace in the midst of chaos. There's perfect love in the midst of hatred. There's perfect everything. There's perfect wholeness revealing itself and seeking to reveal itself in each and every life. There's perfect guidance and direction where there is a need for guidance, and there's a need for direction, and there's a need for protection, and there's a need for safety. God is in the midst of everything. Everything is being made new in each and every moment of each and every day. And this is what I'm claiming for each and every person here this day. A new life, a new way, a new day, as wholeness continues to reveal itself in each and every life. This word goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. It goes out to any area that is war-torn, any area where there's unrest and chaos, to the people of Ukraine and other places where there's war, where there's unrest, where there's violence. The power and the presence of God is in the midst of everything, in the midst of everything. Where there's illness, I know that God is. Perfect health is showing up everywhere. And so I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak their names silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each one is, blessing and keeping them. For God is in the midst of every situation, every circumstance, every event, and all indeed as well. And so I simply say, thank you, Father, Mother God, for the word spoken here this day. Thank you for the perfect manifestation of this word spoken here this day. Thank you for this day and this time of resurrection as we walk forward in a resurrected life. I know that all is well. I know that all is God. That's all I ever need to know. That's all we ever need to know. Thank you, God. And so it is.